The sonar screen is showing something wild. 3 contacts are closing in fast. The operator's hand stops just before reaching for his coffee. It's gonna stay full for a while. What he's seeing shouldn't even be happening. 3 submarines are popping up from different angles, like predators in the mist, each one perfectly positioned to trap the NATO warship in a tight circle. This is the kind of nightmare every naval commander dreads. A coordinated Russian wolf pack is lurking beneath the Greenland ice, and they've just set a trap for a vessel with nowhere to escape. The ocean here plunges for 1,000 feet deep, and the nearest friendly port is 800 meters away. Above, fractured ice blocks any chance of getting to the surface. Below, the crushing pressure and darkness are closing in, with submarines ready to end this encounter in seconds if they wanted to. But here's the chilling part: they're not moving. They're lurking, watching, and waiting to see how NATO reacts when pushed into the most dangerous waters on the planet. In a flash, the Combat Information Center comes alive. Every screen displays the same tricky layout. Contact Alpha is deep and behind, chilling at 900 feet where most subs can't even go. Then there's Contact Bravo, hanging out at 400 feet off the port side, tucked in a thermal layer that makes it almost invisible to regular sonar. Charlie, hanging just under the ice at 120 feet, is in the perfect spot to block any escape. The watch supervisor's voice slices through the quiet confidence as high acoustic profiles match Akula-class attack submarines. That's right, we've got 3 confirmed Russian subs closing in. Each one packs enough firepower to take down a carrier battle group, and their crews are trained for the brutal Arctic environment since their first day of service. And they're operating as a single organism, moving with coordination that speaks to months of rehearsal planning that goes back to strategic command levels in Moscow. The NATO captain receives the brief in his ready room. His face doesn't change, but his eyes calculate distances, angles, response times. 1,800 souls aboard, decisions that could reshape international relations. Maintain course, he says, impossibly calm. Maintain speed. Condition 3, silent. Running. No active emissions. Let them think we haven't seen them. It's the first move in NATO's response. Brilliant in its simplicity. The surface ship becomes a magnet, drawing Russian attention, while the real response unfolds invisibly around them. Because this NATO warship isn't operating alone, not even close. 400 miles northeast, a P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft banks into a holding pattern to radar. It's routine surveillance, but sensor operators feed constant data into the Allied network. Sea surface temperature, salinity gradients, ice drift velocity, magnetic anomaly detection sweeping for submarine hulls through music hundreds of feet of water. The Poseidon isn't hunting. It's painting the battlefield with invisible ink. Only NATO can read. Inside the aircraft, Music, the tactical coordinator, keys his encrypted link. Contacts Romeo 1, Romeo 2, Romeo 3, environmental package transmitting continuous. All NATO units have complete oceanographic picture. This is the key to everything that follows. While the Russian submarines maneuver in what they believe is total secrecy, NATO is transforming the ocean itself into a sensor grid. Every thermal layer mapped, every sound channel characterized, every acoustic shadow zone identified and cataloged. The Russians are operating in an environment they think they understand. NATO knows that environment better than the water knows itself. Back on the surface ship, the Combat Information Center activates the second response layer. Burst transmission. Through extremely low frequency, virtually undetectable. Carrying targeting data to every NATO asset within 300 miles. A Norwegian frigate 60 miles west receives the transmission and quietly adjusts its sonar. Its passive rays tuned to Russian acoustic frequencies. Within minutes, it's tracking all 3 contacts independently, creating multi-platform precision Russian submarines can't match, even with active sonar. On the sonar display, Contact Alpha makes its first aggressive move, the deep. Submarine increases speed by 3 knots, angling upward slightly, closing the distance to the NATO warship's projected track. It's testing boundaries, seeing how close it can creep before triggering a reaction. The range drops from 11,000 yards to 10,500. The NATO's response, absolutely nothing. No speed change, no course deviation, no increase in electronic emissions. The vessel continues cutting through ice-choked water like a merchant ship on autopilot, completely unconcerned about the attack submarine closing from a steer. But below decks, the NATO combat system is executing a response so sophisticated it borders on art. Every acoustic sensor aboard the ship reconfigures itself, adjusting filters and processing algorithms to capture the approaching submarine signature in perfect detail. The towed sonar array streaming a half-mile behind the ship positions itself in the optimal water layer to receive the submarine's blade noise. Hull-mounted hydrophones activate recording protocols that will preserve this acoustic data for analysis that will take months. This is NATO's true response, turning a Russian provocation into an intelligence collection opportunity so valuable it's worth the risk of appearing vulnerable. Contact Bravo executes a mirror maneuver 30 seconds later. Same speed increase, same angling approach. The coordination isn't coincidental. These crews are operating on predetermined timing synchronized to the second, despite being separated by miles of ocean and operating in total communication silence. The U.S. surface ship tracks every movement with passive sonar, so sensitive it can hear individual machinery components inside the Russian boats. A coolant pump running slightly rough on Contact Alpha. A reduction gear with microscopic wear patterns on Contact Bravo. These tiny acoustic signatures are gold for submarine hunters. Once cataloged, these specific boats can be identified anywhere in the world's oceans, even years from now. The shallow Contact Charlie holds position but adjusts. Depth dotted drops 5 meters, then another 3. The Russian boat finds the thermocline perfectly. For 15 agonizing seconds, Contact Charlie vanishes from the NATO sonar display entirely, swallowed by the acoustic shadow zone. Lost Contact Charlie, the sonar supervisor reports, his voice tight. Last bearing 0 for 5. Range 8,000 yards. Here's where NATO's multi-platform response shows its true power. The U.S. surface ship may have lost direct tracking, but the Norwegian frigate still holds Contact Charlie on a different bearing angle. The P-8 Poseidon overhead detects a subtle magnetic anomaly consistent with a submerged submarine hull. And most critically, another NATO asset that the Russians don't know exists maintains perfect tracking from a position they never calculated. The NATO submarine warfare commander, monitoring the tactical picture from a command center in Norfolk, Virginia, watches 3 different tracking solutions converge on his display. Each platform sees part of the picture. Together, they see everything. This is network-centric warfare at its finest. And the Russians have no idea they're operating inside a sensor web this sophisticated. 70 seconds later, Contact Charlie reappears on the surface ship's sonar, exactly where NATO's fused tracking solution predicted it would be. The Russian commander executed a perfect tactical move using the thermaline, but NATO tracked him through it using data fusion the Russian Navy still can't replicate. The 3 Russian submarines execute their next phase with machine precision, creating a barrier patrol across the NATO ship's path. The U.S. vessel's response remains unchanged. Maintain course, maintain speed, maintain the appearance of complete tactical indifference. But now, the invisible layers of NATO's coordinated response activate fully. Contact Delta. The Allied submarine that's been holding position in acoustic shadow for 6 hours makes its first subtle move not toward the Russian boats, not even in their direction. It simply adjusts depth by 10 feet, sliding into a water layer where sound propagation gives it a clear acoustic picture of all 3 contacts simultaneously. The submarine commander whispers into his headset, knowing his words are being recorded for future analysis. All 3 Romeo contacts established in formation. Tracking solutions solid on all units. We own the geometry. He's not exaggerating. From Contact Delta's position, tucked behind an underwater ridge that makes it acoustically invisible, the NATO submarine has firing solutions on all 3 Russian boats. If this encounter went hot, Contact Delta could engage all 3 targets before any of them realized they were under attack. But weapons aren't the goal here. Intelligence is. Contact Delta's sonar crew captures everything. The exact blade count on each Russian propeller, revealing which specific boats these are and allowing future identification. The harmonic frequencies of machinery noise that indicate maintenance status and operational readiness. Even the tiny variations in depthing that reveal crew experience levels and potentially which Russian submarine base these boats deployed from. Meanwhile, the P-8 Poseidon executes the next phase of aerial coordination. The aircraft climbs to higher altitude and transmits a burst of encrypted data to a reconnaissance satellite passing overhead. Within seconds, that data reaches NATO command centers across the continents. Allied intelligence agencies begin correlating this encounter with signals intelligence, previous Russian submarine movements, deployment patterns from Arctic bases. The encounter isn't just tactical, it's strategic. Every second provides data that shapes NATO's understanding of Russian submarine doctrine for years to come. Contact Alpha closes to 8,000 yards, 7,500, 7,000. The Russian submarine commander must be feeling music confident. He's penetrated to weapons range against a NATO surface ship that shows no awareness of his presence. From his perspective, this is a successful demonstration of Russian submarine capability. He has no idea that 5 different NATO platforms are tracking his every movement with precision he can't match. No idea that his acoustic signature is being recorded in such detail that submarine hunters will be able to recognize this specific boat by sound alone for the rest of its operational life. No idea that his tactical success is actually a strategic intelligence disaster. The U.S. surface ship sonar supervisor keys his internal communications tracking solution on Contact Alpha now. Includes auxiliary machinery identification. We have positive ID on this specific hull. Acoustic signature matches previous encounter from 18 months ago in the Norwegian Sea. This is the intelligence payoff. NATO now knows not just what kind of submarine this is, but which exact boat, which crew, which operational patterns they favor. The next time this submarine deploys, NATO will recognize it within minutes of detection. Contact Bravo and Charlie maintain their positions, completing the Russian formation. To their commanders, this must look like a perfectly executed tactical maneuver. 3 boats coordinating flawlessly to dominate a maritime corridor against a NATO ship that appears oblivious to their presence. The reality is precisely inverted. The NATO ship knows exactly where each Russian boat is, precisely what they're doing, and is choosing not to react because the intelligence value of appearing unaware outweighs any tactical benefit of breaking the illusion. Then, Contact Delta executes the move that changes everything. The Allied submarine transmits a single, carefully crafted data burst through an extremely low-frequency channel. The transmission is so brief it lasts less than 2 seconds. So low-powered it's barely distinguishable from ocean background noise, but it reaches all 3 Russian submarines as a distorted whisper that their sonar operators can't quite ignore. The message contains no words, just precise position data. Each Russian submarine's exact location, depth, speed, and heading. The kind of targeting quality data that means we see you. We've been tracking you and we can target you. The effect is immediate and devastating. Contact Alpha's speed drops. Depth increases. The confident approach transforms into cautious repositioning. The Russian commander just realized the tactical situation isn't what he thought. Someone else is down here. Someone who's been watching. Someone who has them targeted. Contact. Bravo reacts within 90 seconds, opening lateral distance while maintaining a phase-saving course that suggests tactical maneuvering rather than withdrawal. The Russian commander is trying to preserve operational dignity while getting his boat out of what he now recognizes as a potential trap. Contact Charlie holds longest, maintaining the forward blocking position. But even this submarine begins repositioning, climbing toward the ice edge before sliding into deeper water. Throughout this carefully choreographed withdrawal, the NATO surface ship never changes course, never alters speed. 3 Russian subs tried to flex their muscles, but the ship just cruised on, totally chill. Up above, the P-8 Poseidon was watching it all. While the Norwegian frigate kept its sonar locked on every move, everything was tracked. Every tactic noted. All 3 contacts fade beyond reliable tracking range. Then quietly resumes its previous patrol pattern as if nothing occurred. Contact Delta remains in position, silent and invisible as the Russian submarines withdraw. The Allied submarine commander allows himself the smallest smile. His boat never fired a weapon, never went active on sonar, never revealed its presence to anything except those 3 Russian submarines, and in doing so delivered a lesson in submarine warfare more valuable than any. In NATO command centers, intelligence gathering kicks off fast. Acoustic analysts sift through recordings for every detail. Tactical experts line up Russian formations, checking for changes. Meanwhile, strategic planners connect this info to Russian subs and their movements, the U.S. ships. Captain strolls through, eyeing the unfolding ocean on screens. He steps back into the sonar station, where the crew is deep into their reports. "Great job," he whispers. Textbook response: this is NATO in action ships, subs, planes, and satellites all working together, miles apart, but totally synced. Each piece doing its part perfectly. The platform combines unique strengths to show a complete picture that no single asset can. As Russian submarines dive into the Atlantic, they think they've pulled off a stealth mission. Little do they know, their moves actually give NATO some key insights. In just 40 minutes, we gathered more intel than months of peacetime monitoring could ever deliver. We picked up on acoustic signatures, tactics, and patterns that will shape NATO submarine warfare for the next decade.